In his amazing book, How Movies Helped Save My Soul, Gareth Higgins says, there is only one meta-narrative, the story of God's redemption of the earth and the race of creatures he made a little lower than the angels. This series then is based on the idea that all stories are trying to convey truth. In that way, they are attempts, wittingly or unwittingly, to tie themselves and us into the big story, the grand narrative wired into the universe from the start. In the beginning, you see, was the Word. At the start, there was story. All truth belongs to God, and if we look close enough, we can find him hiding in plain sight in any film. For those who have eyes to see, ears to hear, and popcorn to nibble, movies contain plenty of seeds just looking for good soil. Many people find the violence in Drive excessive and stomach-churning. How can you possibly find a gospel link here, Andy? Well, two things. Firstly, while the violence is indeed difficult to watch, I would argue that it's never gratuitous. The shocking moment where a man's head is crushed by Ryan Gosling's boot happens within the same scene and setting as the passionately intimate kiss he plants on Irene, played by Carey Mulligan. The juxtaposition of the two elements acts as a wonderful elevator pitch for Nicholas Winding Refn's skill as a director, showing how two seemingly conflicting themes can intermingle. To quote When I Survey the Wondrous Cross, joy and sorrow flow mingled down. The main thing I want to focus on, though, is the lengths the driver will go to in order to protect Irene's life. The end of the second act sees the driver's proposition of a life together receive a literal slap in the face. Irene has rejected him, which is what makes the lift kiss so poignant. It's a goodbye from a man who knows he's not welcome. Nevertheless, the driver spends the third act taking on the forces that would seek to steal Irene's life and that of her son. He would lay down his life for someone he loves, someone who has rejected him, someone who doesn't even know his name. Colossians 2:15 says this, having disarmed the powers and authorities, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them by the cross. The final showdown of Drive is indeed a public spectacle where Albert Brooks, the major antagonistic power, is left dead in a car park for all to see. The final moments of the film show a seemingly lifeless driver suddenly revive or resurrect and drive off, bleeding profusely, but knowing that his actions have given Irene and her son freedom. By his wounds, they are healed. The big difference, of course, is that Jesus' sacrifice didn't require anybody else's blood to be spilled. The driver is a complex being, but a sacrificial monster. However, in the Gospels we read of someone both truly divine and truly human, who was fully innocent and yet willingly died for people who, not knowing his identity, he knew would reject him. That's what I call a real human being and a real hero.